Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League, and if you're just joining us, you're catching us in our second series of the day. Of course, it's going to be the Florida Mayhem versus the Boston Uprising, and this last time was one-sided. Not going to beat around the bush here, Josh. Was one-sided.
It certainly was.
But I like to think of each game as a blank canvas to impart my knowledge and entertainment upon the world. So that's what people should be tuning in for here, as well as sickeningly good individual mechanical plays.
Yes, I think that what most intrigues me about this match is whether Florida can continue this great play that we've seen from them so far.
Sure.
I'm honestly hoping for a stomp. I know that sounds
weird,
mean,
right? Yeah.
And sounds weird, but I really want Florida to be good. They're a franchise that has always been bad. They have always been bad, but this is a brand new team. You take a look at the starting roster here, and this would be just a totally different look from any of their previous rosters. They started with a full European one, made a transition, that didn't work, and it's only really Fate, BQB that they've kept on. Gargoyle was there with them towards the late end of last season, and Chris, I suppose. But they've made some fairly major changes, and it feels like this team is finally clicking.
Yes, yeah, and it's about time too. I think if you're a Florida fan, you've probably been waiting for this opportunity for quite some time, because in terms of the franchise histories, if you look at the wins and losses, I mean, Shanghai took over Florida a while ago, and Shanghai had 40 losses in their first season, so it's about time that they start to get some wins, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that this roster has the potential to do very well this week as well. Yaki's Tracer has been fantastic. On Boston's side, though, if we take a look at their roster, it's exactly the same people that they're fielding all the time, because they only have these players that are even capable of being able to play right now. They're in a fairly unique situation. And we are constantly looking at Jerry and sometimes Color Hex to be able to make those plays to kind of rescue their team from the doldrums of mediocrity where they've been hanging out for, honestly, this entire year.
Such a polite way to put it. Really, you have a mastery of words. It's
thank you, Brennan.
It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be able to come back from this, but I have an inkling, a little feeling that's tugging me towards the idea that, you know, maybe this is going to be an opportunity, of course, as we head into Busan as well. You've got to think, you know, Echo coming into the lineup, I think it gives some of the weaker teams an opportunity to take advantage of the chaos that it adds into the mix. Because there's nothing that will throw a good team off more than just disrupting the way they like to play the game. And I cannot think of a better hero than that, than Echo, that's recently been introduced. So if Boston take full advantage of this, I could definitely foresee them making this a closer series than some people might have imagined.
My problem with that theory, though, Bren, is that in chaotic situations, the teams that have better better team play sometimes win out. And I know that might seem like a really counterintuitive thing to say, but when everything goes crazy and you can't rely on set plays, you rely on individuals being able to sync up together and just be on the same page, more so than just people clutching left, right, and center. So when things got chaotic with the Philadelphia Fusion, they were still able to pair up their halts to be really nice. Or EQO would take a flank and the other people would realize that he was flanking and push. And so the teamwork is still evident in those chaotic situations. And I have seen very little teamwork coming out from the Boston Uprising. I just gotta hope to God that Jerry is an actual deity on the Echo.
Mate, I mean, okay, I'm looking at these teams that they're rolling out with. We're on Mecha Base, and Boston are opting for Dive. I mean, it's not unusual, but I figured that Echo wouldn't be run that much on Mecha Base itself, but still.
Yeah, I think May Reaper is the best composition to run on this point.
Both teams want to use the Echo in this current engagement, and they're not choosing to clash in. Boston's going to be rotating all the way around, looking for an opportunity to dive in, and they wouldn't be trying to push in when they have the opportunity to, but when you hit a halt, accretion, and the sticky bombs like that, they just get deleted. Doesn't matter who is on okay. Yeah, alright, Yaki is going to be making short work of this one, it seems, because, I mean, these opening picks are just quite brutal. And
they really are. Bullying Grusin as
bullying
well.
him already, Yaki! Come on, pal! We're not even. What are we? We're 2 minutes in. 2 minutes in. You're already trying to be the villain of this. Stop it!
Oh, come off it, Yaki! They remember that they set the speed record against Boston last week. Now, it has been overtaken since then.
Yes.
Florida versus Boston is no longer the fastest game that we have in the Overwatch League, but the first map went 49 kills to 5. So I'm just hoping... I mean, I'm kind of hoping we don't see a repeat, but also that would be very entertaining as well.
Okay, well,
in its own little special way.
Well, I'm actually friends with some of the people in Boston, Josh, and I don't like the way you're talking about them, but regardless of that, they're getting demolished anyway. I mean, what is the word to use to describe this? Mulched, decimated,
pummeled,
evaporated, because that's all I'm seeing on my screen right now is a lot of damage being pumped in and a lot of Boston players going back to the respawn queue because we're 50% and counting. Brewson's being pushed off the edge, and it feels like Boston have not found an in yet.
Let's talk about this a little bit as well. The composition itself, I feel like they should be running an Ana, the Boston Uprising, on Myeonbong, because otherwise Fusions is just not going to have the healing he needs to be able to set up in the first place because of the amount of poke damage coming out from Florida. And even then, they need to get in good positions before they can die. You need to set up Jerry and Fusions in a good position before you can have success.
Okay.
And they are just getting harassed all over the place, and Florida have the tempo advantage.
Yep, ultimate's being used here. Boston have to play around this line of sight away from the amplification matrix. There's some opportunities to use some abilities now, but Color Hex moves in. That's going to be a kill onto BQB to set things up. Now the accretion from Gargoyle does not do enough to stun up Fusions for the kill. In fact, Fusions is able to get his Primal Rage off. Swinging away. Yaki going to be coming in with one of his own now as well as he duplicated over to the Winston. Switching back over. A little couple of pot shots from the tri-shot here of the Echo. Able to pump in enough damage for his team to really take it away. You see the duplicate now being forced out of Color Hex as he just about survives, switching over to the Sigma. Yaki going down to the low ground. This is a good opportunity for Boston. He's going to be diving up onto them, onto the high ground, just trying to push them away. Chunking a couple of them down. Color Hex with the Gravitic Flux of his own. Sends them up, and they go straight back down again as Color Hex switched back down over to the Echo. I believe the ult got cancelled there, which is slightly unfortunate.
Yeah. Yep, didn't manage to get much done, but Boston Uprising are in control of the point, and they did get a couple of kills as well. So this is going better than their previous match already. Florida Mayhem are still looking dominant. I would still say that they have the better composition, and they're also online, but signs of life here for Boston.
Yep. Recapping the point is a good start. But BQB has Bob ready, and Bob has a very big gun.
He does, and that makes him good.
Oh, you can see this engagement coming in. Fusions dives onto him. Jerry gets a kill onto Fusions here, onto Fate I should say. Taking out the Orisa player. Gangnam Jim using that amplification matrix but not finding any value out of it because Boston, they just play out of the line of sight. But it's not going to matter if Jerry falls like that. Dynamite will connect onto a couple of targets. And they're just going to be slowly sieging this one now. Pushing them in a war of attrition if you will. And damage coming in. Gravitic Flux sends all of Boston straight up into the sky, giving Yaki ample opportunities to pump in as much damage as he wants. The sticky bomb's connecting, the laser's connecting, and now a duplicate from Yaki as he's going to be just trying to mess with the backline a little bit. He gets the Primal Rage off. Now let's see how his Winston techers work out as he's pushing back Halo straight into the fray. Now he's found another target, doesn't quite know where to look, but his team have dealt with them in the backline, and as the overtime will begin to burn down, they just have to take out these stragglers, and it looks like round one will be going the way of Florida Mayhem.
It certainly will. In a move that surprises few, the Florida Mayhem come away with the first round. But the method in which they managed to get it was surprisingly promising for the Boston Uprising. 73% on the point. Running a dive composition where, I'm going to be real with you, Jerry was non-existent. That's not bad. Because if they manage to find... if they manage to take the successes of what they did well there, which I think was being able to create distractions with their tank line and have Color Hex pressure people, and Jerry starts performing better or can play the Ashe or something like that where he's got a bit more comfort and skill, then Boston might be able to make a bit of a game of this. At the moment, though, I mean, it is not an overstatement to say that Jerry, I believe, has literally done nothing on Tracer. I think he has one pulse bomb kill. I haven't checked the stats, but I've been noticing just Jerry in the death feed repeatedly. And as Boston Uprising, you just cannot afford for that to happen. Jerry has to be one of your power players.
Well, Florida are going to be opting for the double shield. Just trying to create a bit of a foundation to play around here on the central point. Yaki pumping in a bit of damage off onto the sides here. You can see he's got the armor pack as well, so he's working with quite a lot of HP. No one can really punish him here. Gargoyle taking off angles. Boston trying to hunt for an opportunity to get a dive target. Fusions goes for the engage, but he gets halted, accreted, if you will. Don't know if I can use that word in that kind of way, but there we go. Didn't really do too
it's
well.
a verb, you can make it past tense.
I mean, listen, Josh, verbs, nouns, I don't know what they do. I never even learned the difference, but... Yaki's still going to be hunting for a kill or two, and that's not a joke, by the way. My education was very poor.
Well, you can't tell. Your use of the English language, phenomenal. Oh my word.
That was pretty nasty.
That was a
Yaki.
nasty little shot from Yaki.
Yep.
He hit all 3 of his shots onto Jerry there and just silenced him immediately. And this, I feel, is one of the problems. Jerry's just getting deleted by Yaki, by BQB, by Gundam Jin. He can't win the 1v1s.
Feels very brutal right now. Colorhex just trying to get healed up, but again, remember they're running Zen, so the heals aren't that fantastic when they're running this comp. I can see the idea from Boston, though. They want to use the Discord Orb, the Shield Bash, and they want to use Winston D.Va to try and dive on the target and take it out, with Colorhex putting in damage. Very similar to the Pharah compositions that you see sometimes with damage-boosted rockets. The issue is they're just not quite executing it against Florida's comp, and arguably, it's just a bad comp to run into what Florida's running, because Florida, look at how much pressure they can just exert onto them. The amplification matrix comes up, it's enough healing as well. Remember, your healing gets amplified as well when you heal through that little window there. They're going to lay down a supercharger as well. They have so much damage to work with here. Now, a lot of it's going to get taken down by the Boston Uprising, but unfortunately they committed so many resources actually removing those ultimates from the fight that they don't have anything left for the players themselves. So Boston are just going to get kind of played with, toyed with here, like a dog in a chew toy. New, straight from the animal shop where they buy chew toys from.
The animal shop. The animal shop sounds like a sick place where they...
What do they call it? Pet store?
They
pet
sell
shop?
creatures. Yeah, it's a pet store.
The animal shop.
Have you ever owned a pet? The animal shop.
Yeah.
The animal shop is where we're going to put you after this match.
I have, yeah, but I'll be honest with you, Josh. The first thing that popped into my head was a brand, and I don't think I'm allowed to say brands on the Overwatch League. So,
Sure.
So I got confused for a second, but Boston are desperately going to try and make it work. They're sending the players in, sending them straight onto the point if they will. The Transcendence from Myung is going to be used, but will not be able to... well, he will be able to stall it for just a few moments to get Boston onto the point, but there's so much damage being pumped into him from the Florida Mayhem. They're just able to find so many kills off the back of it. Dynamite damage and sticky bombs. It all just adds up to way too much to heal through, and Florida Mayhem going to be taking map number 1 in a decisive fashion, Josh.
That was a decisive fashion, particularly the second round, but that's a pretty reasonable counter to what the Boston Uprising were running.
Yeah.
That was an absolute refutation of their decision to run Jerry on the Tracer and Color Hex on the Echo. It didn't work at all. Fusions was getting bullied, Jerry was getting slapped around in the 1v1s in the backline, and their supports got snacked on. I mean, apart from that one fight win that gave them 73% on mecha base, it really was a drubbing. The Florida Mayhem looking pretty tight, pretty coordinated, and individually talented as well.
Well, it's not over just yet because, well, there are a couple of more maps to be playing in this series. We're going to find out after the break if the Boston Uprising can, I don't know, gain omniscience. But we'll find out after the break. Don't go anywhere. Florida versus Boston, map 2 coming up.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch.
Well, welcome back, everybody, because it's time for the second map of the Florida Mayhem versus the Boston Uprising. Of course, if you're just joining us, it's been, I won't lie to you all, it's been a slightly one-sided affair, but that's no reason why the Boston Uprising can't bring it back. And if we did see them bring it back, Josh, might be one of the most, I don't want to say ridiculous matches of all time, but it'd definitely be unexpected.
It would be unexpected. And honestly, usually you would say that Florida Mayhem are the kind of team that Boston Uprising would be able to beat. Previous to the last couple of months, Florida Mayhem have been, over the course of their entire franchise history, a low-level team in the Overwatch League. They've been the kind of team that gets beaten up by everybody else. And now Boston Uprising are in that position. And Florida as a franchise get to experience what it's like from the other side, being the bully instead of the victim.
Yes, yeah.
I want to take this instead of speculating about the 3 universes in which the Boston Uprising come back and demolish the Florida Mayhem.
Doctor Strange.
I'd like to, yeah, I'd like to think about the records that Florida Mayhem could kind of try and set here. I believe that the fastest, or rather the speed that the Florida Mayhem were able to beat the Boston Uprising last time they met was 24 minutes and 9 seconds of in-game time. Now, so far, we've just looked at the stats, and it has been 7 minutes and 48 seconds. So that was actually a little bit long.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're going to need to pick up the pace if they want to beat their previous
They're racing. You've set up this race now. Between
it's the Florida are racing their previous record. They're trying to speed run the Boston Uprising.
Brutal. Anyway, Hollywood is the map we're running into this time around. The thing that's going to decide it as well is which side the teams start on, Josh, if they're trying to break the record. Because if Florida start on the defense first, then there is an opportunity for them to set a time. And Florida are actually on the attack. So even less of a chance or opportunity for them to try and, I mean, so the UI says. Am I inclined to not? I don't know.
I think Boston Uprising are on the attack, are they not? Because their side is highlighted and it says 0.0%.
Bro, you are so smart. I trust me.
Am I dumb?
No, I'm the dumb one. No, ignore me. Ignore me.
Okay,
You're right.
Thank you, Brent.
You're right.
Thank you. All right, so there is an opportunity here. I mean, I'm being flippant, but I really do think that the Florida Mayhem have developed a lot as a team. And so I think that it's almost a little unfortunate that Florida have gone up against Boston Uprising now. Because I really get the feeling that if they had gone up against decent level teams, we would be talking about Florida Mayhem as like an enormously improved roster.
Yep.
And one that can now start to challenge like middle of the pack to upper level teams. You know, the Valiants and the Gladiators of the world. That's who I would love the Florida Mayhem to be playing against. At the moment, though, they're kind of hamstrung by their opponents. There's only so fast you can beat the Boston Uprising. So they are... They're in a weird position right now, but they are playing very cleanly. Yaku's performance on map 1 was excellent at being able to shut down Jerry. Jerry went 3 and 6 on his opening map on Tracer, not able to get any work done whatsoever across the 2 rounds.
Question marks and smiles in the chat as the teams get ready to have a rumble in Hollywood once more. And you can see Boston Uprising just trying to take positioning. BQB going down. Those are the sticky bombs of Colorhex. That is a fantastic opportunity. Now Florida have got to try and battle back away from this. He's setting up another dive. Your mortality field goes down. Colorhex using his laser. Huge bionate from Myungbong. Sets up Bruiser for the dive. Gets 2 kills. Suddenly we're looking at a very different turn of events here as the Boston Uprising are looking to just take this opening point almost instantly.
And Colorhex is looking pretty impressive on the Echo. So I like this. Without the Florida Mayhem being able to put pressure on Boston, they can set up a dive, and that opening pick from Colorhex just knocks it all open. That's really nice from Boston Uprising. There's signs of life, yeah. You know, Colorhex is someone that we haven't really talked about too much over the course of this season because he's been stuck on the May. But I thought he had a lot of potential coming into the league. Yes, so he's a Genji, Pharah, Widowmaker kind of player. Flexible. And so I think that fits fairly well into playing Echo. There's some overlapping skill sets there. Now I'm inclined to pay attention to his Echo skills, see if he can keep it going.
Nano Boost is used here onto Fusions, just trying to basically build up the Primal Rage, see if he can get a pick, but Halo goes down. Jumping, leaping back. fadeaway Helix rocket there coming out from BQB. Means that this push is going to be dead in the water. Kalhex is trying to avoid a lot of the sticky bombs, but there he goes. Straight down. Gangnam Jim takes the kill in the end.
Pretty even in the 1v1 between Yaki and Color Hex, but unfortunately Florida Mayhem have 5 other players there ready to disrupt the 1v1. I think that this section of the map, now that we're into the payload portion, is going to favor the Florida Mayhem a lot, because they're so much better at being able to apply pressure. You can't really do that when you're defending a point, but you can definitely do that, at least not like a hybrid map like Hollywood, but you can when you're defending a payload.
The hull was used early, which meant the Fusions had an opportunity to go in, but the Gravitic Flux is just going to realistically chunk you down. 50% of your health go down as you get slammed into the ground, so the Primal Rage really didn't help there. And the Florida Mayhem winning a reasonably neutral engagement. They ended up using both of their support ultimates, so neutral wouldn't be the word to use in that scenario.
And a Flux.
Yeah.
I think this could be pretty important here. Jerry's in an alright position, assuming he doesn't just get demolished by Yaki, which could certainly happen. But look at the Boston Uprising. They've got a Rally, which is one of the best support ults in the game right now, in this meta. And they've also got Color Hex's ult to be able to try and clutch with.
Bash onto Fate, trying to lead the charge, trying to get a kill or two, but look at this. Yaki moves over to the Winston, dives into them. He's almost got a Primal Rage with that Supercharger. He's getting super powered up. See the bombers being traded out. The back line, not really getting much done there. Jerry does take out the Supercharger. Still could be a win for Boston, but they've got to be able to find something, or at least get anything done. I think Bruceson is the recipient there of the Nano Boost, but I mean, he's just got to wait it out. None of his team can really follow up with any damage he's doing. Color Hex.
Bruceon's bomb wasn't very good. They're going in for another dive now as well. Color Hex makes his way over to the Sigma, so he's got to try and build up this Flux, but he's so weak.
Yeah, a lot of damage now. Kalhex using the duplicate, trying to build up this Gravitic Flux, but remember, if he builds it up and uses it, then you might not even have time to actually get it off now. Yaki just putting in the sticky bombers, and here we go!
Nope, didn't have time to use it.
It doesn't matter anyway, because Boston are finding the pickoffs that they needed now, but the Gravitic Flux might just turn this one around in the favor of the Florida Mayhem. The rally from Halo is going to be saved for the time being. Don't want to be utilizing it, but that's perfectly fine because the Boston Uprising have taken this fight away and they've finally broken out of this initial choke point.
They eventually managed to do it there, Boston. A decent dive attempt. They had forced out the ults in the previous fight, so Rally wasn't available until really late. I think that was a bit of a waste from Chris towards the end. He would have definitely wanted that back. He's actually opened the door somewhat for Boston Uprising to snowball here. If they get a nano onto fusions and play into the backlines, definitely potential.
That's pretty clean from Myungbong. He's hitting these shots. He's hitting a lot of shots, in fact. He's doing a lot of damage to the DPS line, and he's getting the healing done. But when you got a Winston moving into the backline and a beautiful flank timing from BQB here, chose the perfect time to use that tactical visor from the back. He gets a lot of picks, or at least puts in the damage necessary for his team to try and turn and collapse it around. But not over yet for Boston, as they're able to find a couple of picks. The rally armor allows them to really just dive into the Florida Mayhem, take care of his front line to a degree. But Yaki still alive means that they have an enormous amount of damage. And the Boston Uprising are just not ready to deal with that just yet. It's still early in the morning.
Yeah, I really like this pick from BQB on the Soldier 76. I know that a lot of people have been running the Ash alongside the Echo, and I think the Ash is also really good. But the Tac Visor is fantastic at being able to counter Rally, because it doesn't actually provide healing, it only provides armor. And it also, it doesn't really get shut down by the D.Vas anymore, because the D.Vas are so committed to the frontline battle, that if you get a good flanking Tac Visor, you can get huge amounts of value with it.
Everyone's going to be taking the elevator up onto the high ground. Fusions goes in. He has the Primal Rage to stay alive, but I mean, a little bit of a waste here as he's just getting really quite hurt. Has to back off to his team for heal, so the Primal Rage didn't get anything done, but that's okay because now we're going to be seeing a bomb attempt now as Bruceson sends it in. Myungbong takes out Yaki as well with a couple of little left clicks, presumably. Now Jerry's going to be going for a little play in the backline. Nice bio-nade from Myungbong. Oh my God, that is filthy, and that is a lot of damage laid up, as well as Jerry was able to collect the kill down to Gangnam Jim off the back of it. Myungbong, it feels like he is dragging his team now to the finish line.
Absolutely. And we've been waiting for this. Myungbong, when the Boston Uprising's roster was announced, everyone was saying Myungbong was the only star player that they had. You know, Kalax is okay, Fusions is okay, Jerry nobody really knew about. But Myunbong was supposed to be the saving grace of this Boston Uprising roster. Honestly, so far in 2020, we haven't seen any of it. But this match, he's starting to showcase why he was so well respected in Korean contenders.
A lot of odds now being used though by Florida as they use the rally to just try and push them off the cart. Boston agree. They don't want to take any fights into this, but a halt will pull them back. Fusions has to leap away. Florida still have positioning with this Orisa shield. Look at how close it is to the door. Yaki with the ultimate though. They duplicate the Winston once more, trying to basically cleave through them, build up that primal rage to disrupt, take them apart. Halo does have the rally armor that's being applied currently, but Yaki still waiting. Primal Rage comes out, but he's only got 3 seconds left, so he can't actually play aggressively with that, with the Primal Rage like you wanted to. You gotta think about the timings when you're playing a hero like Echo, because you got caught out of position in no man's land. It could have been dangerous. And this is an opportunity now for Fusion to try and make some plays, because Jerry ends up bringing Gangnam Jim. That means that Jerry can also get a kill here onto Chris at the pulse bomb. Beautiful plays. Finally, again, what you said, it just pinpoints in my mind when you talked about signs of life from Boston here. Josh, you know, scientists have been trying to find the source of life for quite some time under the ocean, with little protein pools bubbling. Maybe they just needed to look into this series.
It's possible. I don't think this series was accessible to them before this series began, though. They would have to trifle with time itself. But perhaps that's what's required for Boston Uprising to get a win. 2 seconds left and they come back into this final fight. A lot of ults available here for the Florida Mayhem.
Fusion's going to be using that Primal Rage again just to try and disrupt the opposition, but the Florida Mayhem are ready and waiting. They have ults to use going online in just a few seconds. Nice by Yaki to just really cause a lot of damage there onto Color Hex when he was duplicated up onto the D.Va. Now he does manage to build up the Supercharger. Doesn't get a kill, but Fate will go down, and that was Fate dying at 92%. No Supercharger, an opportunity for Boston if they can collapse off a bit, but Jerry... The stick, Brisk goes down, he tried to avoid it, but it's too late. D.Va wants to try and turn this one, and now Boston have opportunities to work with. Yaki duplicated up once more using the Primal Rage, but again, it's really batting away flies. You know, the thing about flies is you can't really bat them away, they're actually pretty small. Now Fusions with an opportunity to dive into the fray, takes out the Supercharger. Jerry removes Fate, and although this team fight seems very long-winded, the Boston Uprising are the ones who are coming out on top. Color Hex as well with the final damage. The Boston Uprising, they have found their opening, and they are going to be able to get the full completion here on Hollywood.
Well, that's really nice, actually, coming out from the Boston Uprising, bringing it to a team that stomped them last week. I mean, Florida Mayhem absolutely stomped them 1 week ago, and the Boston Uprising have managed to turn it around and put up a fight here. I really like the plays that we're seeing come out from Jerry. I think it's been a big improvement from map 1 to map 2. Map 1, he was harassing the backline constantly and just getting destroyed. Now he's trying to sync up with his team a little bit more, playing safe until his team provides a distraction and then engaging. He's getting some good pulse bomb kills off as well.
I think that's...
And Color Hex swapping over to the D.Va at the final end there made a big difference too.
You say swapping off, you mean duplicate, right? Yeah.
Yes, I mean duplicating. Obviously, he's not able to play the D.Va, but yeah, he duplicated the enemy team's D.Va.
This is a POV. Me and you are watching a film. We're on a date, apparently.
Oh, right. What are we watching? What would you title that movie?
Intermission was the title.
Oh, that's the name of the movie.
Yeah, that was...
Right, okay.
That was the name of the movie.
Was it a good one? I can't remember the date.
It's just started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we're past that point anyway now. Honestly, Josh, there's jokes in this game, but we can't find them just yet. We're searching. I'm telling you now, we're searching for them, but we're not finding them just yet. It's like...
Hunting like the Boston Uprising.
Yes, hunting for this win, much like the Boston Uprising. And now we're going to see them on the defense, still opting for these dive compositions. But I like it. We're seeing the improvements. This is not the same Boston Uprising that ended up losing in a record-breaking fashion last week. They have made improvements quite clearly, and I think the opening for them has been Echo. Color Hex being able to play that role, adds a little bit more solo carry potential.
It really does. It takes him off the May, which is such a team-based hero. Color Hex has the skill. Ooh, and that is a beautiful pick to start out with. Great harassment on Yaki, and then Jerry comes in with a couple of blinks to finish him off.
Yep, and when he's got that armor pack, he is a dangerous individual. Babyface assassin, if you will. A little bit applicable.
I really wish that the Boston Uprising had tried to push them, though, while they were 5v6.
Yeah.
Because now Jerry's trying to spawn camp, and Florida are just taking a 5v5.
Jerry's done it, though. Jerry has managed to get the kill onto Yaki once more, but BQB in the back line gets stunned up. The shield from Halo, he's desperately trying to survive. Someone please help Halo, please! He goes down without a fight. No one there to save him, and the Florida Mayhem have just rolled over the back line. The amplification matrix on top is the cherry on the metaphorical cake, if you will. And the Florida Mayhem are looking like they're able to cap this. The fact that Myongbong and Fusion's made a couple of nice little plays towards the tail end of this, it is going to be all Florida Mayhem.
Tell me what top team would hold passively in a 6v5 when they're running dive. None of them. The best teams press their advantages, and the Boston Uprising literally let the Florida Mayhem run onto point 5v6 and establish position with their double shield. These are the kind of mistakes that the Boston Uprising make, and it's not so much mistakes, but if you don't move forward, you die. Who said that? Wendy Bird, okay? And Wendy Bird knows.
Sorry, what? Sorry, excuse me. All right, well, back to the game.
It's a direct quote from Ozark.
Okay.
I mean, if you,
yeah,
you
I know what it's from,
know.
Josh. I know what it's from. I'm just confused. Is all it is. Okay. Because the Florida Mayhem are still pressing their advantage, as good teams do. BQB teleporting up to the high ground using the Wraith form, has to play with the back of the rest of his team, I should say, because there was no follow-up for him being onto the high ground. Boston have ultimates to use.
Wow.
Yaki, though, gets demolished, deleted. Whatever word you want to use, it's all applicable at the end of the day, because it looks like the Boston Uprising with the nano boost onto Bruce, and I can respect it. The damage is being done. Pumping in a lot of these off angles, you're able to get it done. The accretion, though, is going to be connecting onto Color Hex, but Color Hex has so much damage to work with! Are you kidding me? The nano boost applied onto him when he was duplicated as the Reaper, building up the Death Blossom, and he just shredded Josh.
That's so clutch coming out from Color Hex. What a play. He can afford to be that aggressive because he knows if he dies as a duplicated Reaper, he'll just come back with full health on the Echo. So he wasn't worried about dying, he just wanted to get max value out of that pick. He clones BQB, goes in there and destroys his team.
It's just insane, just truly beautiful. And it's these kind of plays that Boston Uprising need to be pulling out if they want an opportunity to come back in this series. See Yaki just trying to pressure them away. The dive attempt, well, didn't quite work out as Myongbong will fall to Chris in the end. See the Boston Uprising just trying to peel themselves away. Another opportunity here. BQB just holding onto the high ground. Jerry, though, trying to turn things around. The pulse bomb will connect. Yaki ended up switching over. We've got a bit of a tracer 1v1. And I don't think it's light to say that we are just witnessing pure carnage being unleashed onto the field here. Boston Uprising,
but I think it's coming out in favor of Boston. Yeah, and a lot of it is coming down to Jerry's nice pulse bombs. He's had a lot of clutch pulse bombs over the course of this second map. His Tracer got basically nothing done in the first map, but this second one, he's found clutch pick after clutch pick. Not necessarily with his pulse rifles, but with the pulse bombs. I don't think it's called a pulse rifle. I think I just made that up.
What? Tracers?
The tracer weapon. Yeah, I think the pulse rifle is actually Soldier 76's rifle.
Rifles, mate. Yeah, I mean, it's a pistol.
Pulse pistols. It's a pistols. I don't know.
Anyway, Fusions with the nano boost applied is going to be just trying to build up the Primal Rage once more. And Jerry again with another clutch pick. He's finding it. He's taking the off angles, lays down the pulse bomb, doesn't find a pick off like he was hoping for, but he got the pick off onto Yaki, and that's what counts. And he's actually forced Yaki over to the Tracer. Yaki no longer wants to be playing the Echo into this one. And I gotta say, just because it's not working out in your favor, I don't know if I agree with that switch. He wants to try and take the fight straight to them. Now Color Hex with the duplicate available, just avoiding the amplification matrix from Florida. They laid it down. It's going to give them a bit of space to work with, but right now Color Hex is working, wiggling, just hovering, waiting, searching for a target to see if he can use one, but again, you're going to see that the sticky bombs are doing enough damage in the end. Now, the supercharger being unleashed will allow Yaki to get that kill on Jerry as he tried to hide in the meantime. It's got to be clutch time now for Color Hex as he gets instantly destroyed out of his duplication form. He tried to go over to BQB's Reaper, but it did not work out in their favor. The Florida Mayhem finding ample opportunities to retake this fight.
Good swap over from the Florida Mayhem. They realized that they were just giving too much space over to Jerry and Color Hex, and I like the Tracer switch, honestly, because if you have a very static composition on the ground with your tanks in Fate and Gargoyle playing the Orisa and the Sigma, then you need some consistent damage on the enemy team's tanks in order to push them away. And that's what the Tracer and the Reaper provides. And Yaki, he's had a great season so far on the Tracer. He's got some of the best stats in the league when it comes to specifics.
Now the Florida Mayhem are looking for an opportunity to complete this map. 1v1 taking up onto the staircase. No winners in that time. Heals come out from either side's team, but only a minute 30 seconds for Florida to try and get a cap here. If they manage to do it very soon, they might be able to at least force this map over to 4. Let's see if they are able to do it in the next couple of seconds, though. Yaki with the rally armor on him, he makes him a bit of a raid boss character. The stick comes out onto the shield. Halo goes down. Oh, no, 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 not what you want to see. Florida Mayhem only have a couple of seconds left. Now Fusion's just trying to stall this one out with the bomb as well. Coming through from Bruce, and Fusion with the Primal Rage gets destroyed by the overwhelming damage being employed onto them. Gargo with his own Gravitic Flux is able to get as many kills as he really damn well please. And it looks like the Florida Mayhem are going to be able to cap this one up eventually as soon as they clean up the last couple of players. That's going to do it. There you go. So they do finish with under a minute. And it's going to mean that this game will continue. Both teams are going to get an opportunity to attack again.
Score.
Yep. It took them a while to be able to break through point B, but that switch from Yaki over to the Tracer was exactly what the Florida Mayhem needed in order to put more pressure on Fusions and check Jerry. Jerry got a kill on Yaki towards the end there, but I think that was set up by Myungbon's sleep, because otherwise Yaki was just running rampant. Talking about Yaki's stats, the reason why I thought that it's a good swap and he's been playing really well so far this year, he is actually at second place overall in the league on Tracer this season for solo kills and pulse bomb kills per 10 minutes. So landing a lot of kills with his pulse bomb and also being able to just kill people on his own without the help of his team. And he's also tied 4th in his kill to death ratio as well. So impressive stuff so far this season from Yaki on the Tracer, and that seems like it's an effective counter strategy. I would say the best way at dealing with Boston is just to make sure that Jerry has no impact. And they've managed to do that over the course of the 2 maps. First of all, by beating him in the first map when he was going for the backline, and they were just winning the 1v1s there. And on this map by
making switches,
forcing him to, take the Tracer 1v1.
I like it. Now Florida are going to be opting for the double shield defense, but with the May Reaper composition, so a lot of neutral potential. What I mean by that is you can win a lot of these team fights without just using the ultimates. You can ice wall, you can hold, you can pull people into the accretions, you can get picks that way. Boston Uprising still going to be opting for this dive composition. That's what they've settled on. That's what they want to be trying to master over the course of the series, over the course of potentially the year. Hex is hunting for an opportunity like he got on BQB previously, but Florida do not want to give him up. Now they do dislodge them away from the high ground. That is a beautiful boop and a nice bionade from Myungbong, but the defensive ice roll from Yaki actually stops Boston from following up properly. Bruson has to disengage, get to the back, or get to the rest of his team to be healed up now. Yaki with the ice wall. This is intelligent. Forcing the recall, but thankfully just about escapes. Jerry was lucky to not be caught out of position then.
Absolutely. Some signs of life though for Boston. They waited until the shields broke to execute the dive, and a lovely bionade coming out from Myungbong. Someone needs to touch though. Jerry's just going to get there onto the point. Yep. Blinks around, and Boston Uprising do have a nano boost to work with here onto Fusions.
Whole team moving around, but the Coalescence is going to be hosing them, and it's looking very difficult for the Boston Uprising to try and push into the Coalescence. One of the stronger ultimates that we've got in the game, especially when it's up. A lot of pushing potential, and that is going to force the Boston Uprising back to the respawn queue, and they are not able to get any captured time percentage. We're going to swap things around now. Of course, the Florida Mayhem, their turn to attack. They have a minute 45, which in some cases is a lot of time. In some cases, not a lot of time. Definitely potential for a draw here for the Boston Uprising.
Certainly, that's the best case scenario for them, and I think it's something that they should be fairly proud of. If you're playing against a team that demolished you, set a record-breaking time 1 week ago, and you're able to put up a decent enough performance to be able to draw with them on a hybrid map, and not just a draw where both teams suck at attack, but a draw where both teams full completed the attack, you were able to show that you were pretty good on the defense and pretty good on the offense here on Hollywood if you're the Boston Uprising and you manage this full hold. And 1 minute 45 is not that long, but it comes down to the first fight. If they win the first fight, they'll probably have the ultimates to be able to win the second, barring any major screw-ups.
Well, we will see.
And previously, they were able to get picks early on with Jerry finding a kill onto Yaki. But it looks like this time Florida are not going to make it that easy for them. I could see them running the May Reaper because it's great when your ults aren't active.
Yep, looking for one of those neutral fights that I was talking about a bit earlier. Bruce just doing scouting, that's what he's doing. He's going to be calling out what composition the Florida are running. Boston.
This puts a lot of pressure on Myeonbong to hit goodbye grenades and Jerry and Color Hex to harass the backline. If they don't manage to find a pick, they're just going to give the point to Florida.
Let's see if they find the opportunities.
Yeah, to Florida, sorry.
Ice Wall comes up from Yaki. Instantly back coming in from Fusions. They've already walked onto the point. Someone needs to try and touch this one now. Look at the aggression coming out from them. Fate goes down to Myeongbong, but BQB has already dealt a lot of damage. Almost a killing blow, if you will, because Hellfire shotguns are just tearing through the opposition. Not really much to do to mitigate it when you're running these dives. Yaki with the icicles. Quick little fade away. Color Hex will fall. Only a couple of players remaining now for Boston, and they have to keep it going. Remember, they're on the defense. Florida Mayhem just a few seconds away, and they are going to get the map completion, making it 2-0. But I will say this is a positive for Boston. It's not as one-sided as it was last week, so they are seeing improvements.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of an improvement, but at the end of the day, if it doesn't change the score, if it's still a 3-0 with 0 draws, have you really improved enough? I'm disappointed with Boston Uprising's lack of initiative, their lack of gumption on their defense there. Because they just waited again for Florida to push into them. They didn't take the aggression. They didn't try and harass with Jerry or Color Hex and then execute a dive. They allowed the Florida Mayhem to run into their backline and kill Myeonbong with a May and a Reaper. And they only got the trade onto Fate. At that point, you've already lost because positioning is everything in this game. So Boston's still with a lot to work on here.
Well, it's time to see what our lovely, deity-driven... I don't know why I said deity-driven. I was trying to think of a way to really just gas up our
incredibly
analysts.
Religious watchpoint desk?
I don't know if they are religious. I'm not trying to imply that. But I was trying to gas them up, Josh. I was trying to say that they're very knowledgeable. But we're going to go over to a game break with Zoe, Jonathan, and Custer.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, helping you stay connected to what matters most. Learn about T-Mobile's COVID-19 response on T-Mobile.com. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. welcome to our game break presented by Pringles Wavy. This is your, according to Bren, deity-driven desk.
That's us, I think.
Yeah, that is us.
Data-driven.
I'm not where. Yeah, where did he
Deity.
want to go with that?
Oh.
Deity, like a god or a supreme.
Wait, what is he even saying? I'm lost in the sauce.
He's trying to make us mythological people,
Ah.
I think.
No, he tries to make us followers of mythological creatures. Mythological, tough word. Oh God.
You know, yeah,
Falling into a
I'm pretty
brain trap.
lost.
Let's move on.
Okay,
Let's talk about
yeah.
the game.
Bren, please
Yeah,
explain further.
He even gets us
yeah,
distracted.
please explain further what
Yeah,
you mean.
please explain
Yeah.
yourself. Also, we're gonna explain the game to you. Haha. There we go. Caught the curve somehow. Yeah. So Boston Uprising and the Florida Mayhem, a rematch once again. And this time, however, and I do appreciate Sideshow as well as Bren for trying to keep it positive here. Yes, I mean, if you're ignoring map number 1, there was some signs of lights coming out of the Boston Uprising, but we do have to address, of course, what went down on the control map. Costa, what stood out the most for you?
It just is kind of like Boston's recognition of what's happening in the meta. We go into control and we've seen a lot of teams play like the Ryan and the Brawley comp or the bunker style. Not a lot of people are trying to use this dive, especially on the maps that were played on Busan. And you saw them struggle. They just couldn't close the distance. They could never get on top of the Florida Mayhem, and Florida's just poking them down, just absolutely winning them down. It did not look close at all, which made me think that this series was going to go exactly how it went last week. But we go into map 2. Signs of life, I guess, maybe, Johnny?
I mean, the thing is, Costa, how much was it map design and how much credit should we give to the players? I think that's the big question to me. Because on point B, that's where you saw the Boston Uprising really do well with their dive composition. But the thing is, they already had the high ground control, right? And Florida Mayhem, they were playing a double shield composition in that. So Florida Mayhem, they didn't control any space before they swapped Yaki to Tracer. And Boston Uprising, they could just drop onto the Florida Mayhem, engage with their ults, and just slice up the Mayhem whichever way they wanted. And that's when the Boston Uprising looked good. So Boston Uprising had such an advantage on point B that I'm sorry, like, I don't know how much you can take away from that and how much credit you can give. You know, on the upside of things,
Johnny.
they're putting up some kind of resistance. But at this point, I'm wondering, like, if they're trying to be... If they looked at Shanghai Dragons as, like, a franchise, and they were like, oh, we have to reach, like, the lowest of lows before we can reach the highest of highs. And now the ambition is just to turn it around in, like, the matter of a year. So, if they're playing the long con, I can sort of appreciate that. That's sort of like a big brain move. That's what you want from that's what you want from some smart people to look forward into the future. It's not about your week-to-week performances. It's about, you know, the year-to-year performances. So maybe that's the approach. I don't know, but that could be an answer for sure.
Yeah,
Am I
I mean,
mad?
a lot of teams are in it for the long haul, so this is not a bad approach, but eventually you need to hit a point where things need to get turned around.
Maybe quarantine has done things to me. I don't know. But I'm speculating.
I am certain it has. Quite certain. You know what's doing things to me? Crunch time. Each and every week is about Pringles Wavy. And we had a really good... I know, I'm rather proud of it. We had a really good bright spot coming out of the Boston Uprising, and that was Collar Hex on Echo. Some really good plays there.
Yeah, we actually had a good play coming out of the Boston Uprising. We had Collar Hex turning into the Reaper. Really cool play. Teleports in, gets the Death Blossom, hits the Q button at a really good time. Just does so much damage and wins it. We felt it was important to highlight a positive thing. Color Hex kind of ruins it by teabagging and then going down 0-2. But, you know, at least there is these positive signs of lights. I do want to highlight Myeonbong a little bit as well.
Yeah.
He's been phenomenal this series. He's been hitting a lot of bio nades. So there are positive signs here and there, better than last week. So, you know, that's good for them.
That's good for them.
I think we are very negative about this Boston team on the desk, on the classes, all that kind of stuff, even in public. But these are players that are very good at the game, and they are like trying their hardest to be better. They're just struggling at times. So I want to highlight when they do good things, because there has to be a redemption arc at some point. We saw Shanghai do it. I'm just waiting for the Boston one.
The fact of the matter is...
Yeah, no, we saw
the fact of the matter is that they are improving, and this is looking way better than it has the last couple of weeks. Like you said, Myeonbong is hitting some sick biotic grenade, helping the team set up. Jerry on the Tracer, I mean, okay, it's not the next coming of Sabiolbi, but he's hitting the pulse bombs, he's getting the picks, he spawn camped Echo, and so there are some pieces to this Boston Uprising team that are looking pretty good, and that just means that if they can keep improving, finally they can maybe get their second win and keep off moving with that momentum. So, you know, yeah, like you said, we're being a bit down on the Boston Uprising, but they are improving, just like Sideshow said on the cast. So, things on the up, maybe a little bit.
Stonks up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think when you talked about the compositional advantage the Boston Uprising may have had on the streets phase on Hollywood, where they were just able to get that high ground due to the composition, I think in general on the second map they also played with more confidence. They went in a little bit more confident. They did actually manage to punish the Mayhem when they overextended and went in a little bit too aggressive. So more of the confidence, more of the punishment kind of game, and I think they're on a good trajectory. Yeah. Let's see if they can turn it around in our second half here. Boston Uprising and the Florida Mayhem. Enjoy. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Alright then, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Overwatch League. Just want to start things off by apologizing to the analyst desk for butchering my compliment to them as I threw to the analyst desk for our game break. But we're past that now, it's all in the past, we put it beside us, and now we've got to look forward to this great match right now. Florida Mayhem versus the Boston Uprising. And Josh, wow. It is currently 2-0 to the Boston Uprising. The Boston Uprising, though, you know, they're battling back. They are showing some individual signs.
Signs of life.
Say again?
The signs of life.
Signs of life,
I think battling back is quite an extreme way of putting it. I haven't really seen much battling back, but at least they've been able to make Hollywood relatively close. They've looked alive rather than a punching bag, which is what they were
like
in their previous
protein
match.
Pool at the bottom of the ocean. They are slowly trying to create
evolving
single cellular life at some point. But the match at hand, though, here's the thing: Boston have got pieces to work with. They definitely have reasonable players, I would say.
Yes, I don't want to be too harsh on the players because we've seen some of these players have success in the past before.
Let me reframe this. This is a team that I feel like has had pieces, but for one reason or another, those pieces get taken away, and suddenly you're left with players in a bit of a precarious position because they are basically working with whatever they've got, or whatever they can do with the players they have. Now, in some cases, that kind of materializes in odd compositions that you see from Boston Uprising, and people are saying, why are they running this? Why are they running that? I mean, it's most likely what's happened is they've practiced a lot of compositions, and this is the one that's actually worked out for them the best.
Yeah, that's likely. And because they only have 6 players that they're able to field right now, there is a limit to what compositions they can reasonably run. Because not everyone's going to be comfortable in everything. Yeah. That's the luxury that most teams have because they built their rosters out knowing that they would require more flexibility, that travel could be a problem, that people might get ill. I mean, nobody predicted the COVID situation. Let's be real there. True. So that is particularly unfortunate for the Boston Uprising. But they're in a very inflexible situation because of the decisions that were made by the staff building their team this year, and the players are paying for it right now because they're kind of getting whooped by everybody else in the league.
Yes, an unfortunate situation, particularly for Boston fans as well, but the series isn't over just yet. Still an opportunity for them to come back. Now,
the reverse sweep, Brent, can you smell it? We've seen a lot of reverse sweeps so far this week.
Well,
can I get you on record predicting the reverse sweep?
No, not going to make that claim here. Although you should keep watching, if not for our riveting discussions. We were just having a discussion in the break about the nature of Japan and how collector items are still incredibly popular in Japan.
Yes, yeah, and we'll continue that discussion, I suppose, as we go into Hanamura, which is our next map, of course, set in Japan. You know, there's the little segue for you, Brent, the one that you were missing.
Yep. Wow, I did miss that. That's nice. I like that. Appreciate that.
Not bad.
Should probably tell you that after the actual broadcast rather than during the broadcast, but here we go.
You made a trip to Japan recently.
I did, yes. It was very entertaining. I joined a... I'm not going to say it, actually, because it was underground, but I almost just blathered about
outed
something.
yourself.
Well, you know, it was an enjoyable trip. I'll just say that much. You know, definitely go to Japan if you get the opportunity to, guys. The food's fantastic. The people are very friendly, and it's a beautiful country. But here we have it. Boston Uprising versus Florida Mayhem. And what Boston are teasing, of course, they're in the attacker's side spawn. They could still make some changes, but it's most likely going to be rolling out with the same composition they've been rolling out with this entire series long. Florida Mayhem going to be sticking with something quite familiar to them as well.
But, crucially, Sire player coming in instead of BQB. So, if there was ever a player that I would want to watch play Ashe, play these very flick hit scan kind of roles, it would be Sire player. This guy's Widowmaker, amazing! So I'm anticipating his Ashe to be just as good.
Here he is. He's going to be searching for those heads, looking to see if he can click. Boston Uprising, hunting for a lifeline. They are rolling out now with, again, this dive composition. Colorhex going to be playing around these angles, seeing if he can break one of the shields at least. Gargoyle forced away from the high ground.
Decent amount of damage really done on Gargoyle, but...
Oh, there's a dive target.
To work with.
Okay. The beam doesn't quite do enough damage to try and chunk him down, and Sire Player is on the high ground, and he's already found 2 kills. He gets the headshot onto Jerry as well. I think Jerry was right up in his grill as well. That is beautiful stuff from Sire Player, and it's going to mean a dead push from Boston Uprising.
That's what you got to expect, right? When Sire Player's on the field, he's pointing the rifle at you. This guy is nasty with his aim.
Personally, I feel
one of the best aimers that we have in the league.
Yeah, I don't like playing Ashe. No, I'm all about hit scan. I like McCree, I like Widowmaker, but Ashe just doesn't feel right with my aim. So it's I don't know. I have a sense of just awe around players that can play every single hit scan player to a high level. Side player being one of them. As we see another dive attempt to come out from the Florida Mayhem. They use the Discord Orb onto the tanks, Fate and Gargoyle, the ones with a lot of the damage being pushed into them, but Fusions. Oh, no, that's the dynamite being applied to him. Gangnam Jim forced to drop down to the low ground just to heal up the rest of his team, and now they're going to be looking for a target, potentially onto Brucein, but Boston have managed to basically push them away from the high ground now, which is what one of their intended goals was. See if Side Player can get a couple of picks now as we see him just hunting for an opportunity. Holt doesn't really find anything, but Boston just trying to create, or just trying to take some space.
Side Player getting pressured down, so weak, and Color Hex flies in. Does a lot of damage there over to Yaki as well, but Yaki will find the pick on his counter target, but this has opened things up for the Boston Uprising. Taking down the Immortality Field as well.
Yaki has Primal! Yaki has Primal! Yaki has Primal! Oh, whoa, what a play from Halo, dude! Holy moly, shield bash straight back onto the ledge, and knocks him back into the fray. Jerry as well clutches up with 2 kills. That is some nasty stuff there from the Boston Uprising, turning us around. I was a little bit worried then. I saw Florida Mayhem, I saw Yaki duplicate the Winston, I saw him build up the Primal Rage. This is a section of the map that is notorious for those environmental kills, but Boston Uprising clutching it up with Jerry. And, you know, just shout out to Halo, holding down Mouse 2 and holding down Mouse 1.
You make it sound so simple, but it was a really nice play. Yeah, the awareness to know that you'd been juggled off and you were just perfectly within shield bash range. Nice play from Halo. We haven't been talking about him too much since he was added to the Boston Uprising to replace Swimmer, but yeah, it's been all right for him. It's been a rough start to the year, honestly, if we were saying all things considered for him, but that's a pretty sick little play.
Yep, and now Boston are going to try and capitalize a couple of more plays. Well, at least try and create them in the first place. As you can see, Bob is going to be utilized on the point just to contest it, which is going to force the Boston Uprising away from it. And they've immediately lost 2 people, so you're going to have to put an end to this push. Color Hex using duplicate, disagree with that decision making, but sometimes things get lost in communication.
Yeah, they felt like they wanted to go for it there, and to be fair, they forced out the Supercharger and the Rally, which are arguably the 2 most important ultimates in the game, if you ignore the clutch potential of the duplicate coming out from the Echo.
Yeah.
Gargoyle still with his Gravitic Flux. That one's got to be slightly difficult. Relies on Myunbong to build up the Transcendence. But other than that, Boston Uprising have got opportunities here.
Nice shots from Yaki. Sending in the sticky bombs there.
It seems like a lot of this push onto Hanamura Point B is going to be defined by whether or not Color Hex can really get onto that flank. Because if he can't, if he just gets pushed out constantly by Yaki and they always have to go through the same entrances over and over again, I think they're just going to get crushed.
I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this series as a whole and probably blaming Fusions for quite a bit of it, but I'll just say this. It's always the main tanks that look bad when your team's underperforming, and it's also very difficult to get anything done when you're running a Zen in the back line. Yaki just getting away with murder. Yaki now going to be using the duplicate just to survive a little bit longer, and takes out Fusions, has a Primal Raise built up almost instantly. Where's he going with this? Where are you hunting for, lad? Currently they're synced up so that when his duplicate ends, his Primal will end, so it's all good for him. But as I was saying previously, it's hard for Fusions to get anything done because, I mean, just look at the support line of Boston. I mean, you want Myunbong on one of his best heroes, but there's not a lot of healing there for a Winston to try and create him.
Yeah, they're playing a very high-tempo composition. Put armor packs onto Jerry and Color Hex and then play with the Discord Orb, but it hasn't worked. They haven't been playing that fast, honestly. They've been playing kind of slow, and you need your team to get into position before you dive, which is where the Ana can help.
Thunderstruck comes in. Let's see if they can coordinate something here. He's going to burst down the shield, but the positioning of Fate was good. The other side of it. Now they're going to start playing the point. Fusion's playing back at the rest of his team as he realizes there are no space being created, or no one's really into the point as it stands. Jerry just going to zip and zoop his way out of there. And Building a couple of ultimates up now for the Boston Uprising. They have one or two things to work with, but realistically, the thing they've been relying on to crack open these points has been Jerry with the clutch. And Beyond were forced to use that Transcendence early because they were getting chunked down so much. Not ideal, because now the Gravitic Flux has connected onto Fusions, brought up, brought down again, and that's that lack of healing I was talking about. Jerry, though, with the Pulse Bomb may have just opened things up for them. You can find him already getting that kill onto Sire Player, chunking in the damage, and he's finding openings left, right, and center. Colorhex now just trying to build up this supercharger before too late, before he fails off the duplicate. As we go for the punch, 91%. If he can get it off, it's going to be good for them. Nice little supercharger shield as well, and that's going to persist for a little while now, as you can see them really just pumping in a lot of the damage now. Beam in charge, really unloading it all, and Boston are able to get a capture.
That was actually pretty nice from the Boston Uprising. Yeah, they get caught in the Gravitic Flux, but they'd already taken great positioning across the low ground and the high ground, which allowed for an early collapse on the Gargoyle, and Colorhex with a bit of a clutch there, as you say. Great duplicate onto the enemy Orisa, gets down that supercharger, lasts for 4 seconds after his ult finishes, and he's able to clean up with some nice tracking onto Yaki. That's pretty good from Boston. They weren't able to cap with a minute. It was only 58 seconds. But that'll do. Beggars can't be choosers. 58 seconds is absolutely enough to come out with a win here on Hanamura.
Do you think Hanamura...
They just have to have a stalwart defense.
Do you think Hanamura has any toy collectible shops nearby? Any...
Well, I was unaware of the toy collectible craze, which you say is a big thing in Japan.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised.
This area, Hanamura, definitely seems more like a cultural site. It doesn't seem to... well, then there's also this area.
Yeah, that is just an arcade.
Good point, observers, good point.
But I will say that this is... I mean, when I was in Japan, you go from one temple, you walk on the street, and then next thing you know, there's an arcade, there's a collector's toy shop, there's this, that, and the other. Because it's such a kind of compact country, isn't it? Tokyo has a ridiculous population. Now, I don't know where...
It does. The population density is very large.
I don't know where Hanamura is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was in Tokyo somewhere, you know? Especially, look at these. Like, I mean, the buildings are all... closely packed into each other. You can recognize as well. Very distinctive slate roofing that's normally used on Japanese buildings there. But enough about that.
That'll help me in my life.
Yep, enough about that one. I mean, it might help you in some scenarios if you get lost in Japan, I suppose. But you can see...
Or if I get lost in the world and don't know where I am.
Florida Mayhem looking for opportunities now as they're just trying to push past this choke point. Big buy from Myungbong is going to be forcing them back here. Yaki is going into off angles. Just trying to get those sticky bombs off onto somebody. See him just shredding them down. And this is the danger as well when you're running against the Echo with this kind of composition, is you're just going to get bursted down so easily. And because you're really lacking a bit of healing now, granted, Myungbong is playing the Ana, but the tank line has had to back off to try and get healed, and now they're only just engaging with 2 ticks given up. Florida Mayhem, they have a defensible position here onto the first point here of Hanamura. Myungbong trying to get as much work done as humanly possible. The Nano Boost applied. Still could be winnable now for the Boston Uprising. Fusions has to build up this primal rage to try and make it work, though.
It's so sad watching a Winston dive into this composition, because he just gets shield bash, stunned, slapped around, melted immediately. Yeah. It makes me cry internally. But... you know, Fusions is trying his best. He's just trying to open up space for his team. That time it doesn't work out whatsoever. And again, I keep coming back to this, but the Boston Uprising just don't apply very much aggressive pressure of their own. They don't like to attack. They just kind of wait and try and get in the perfect position before they engage. And you need to apply some pressure to the team that's coming in through a choke point. You can't just allow them to get in for free.
Hesitation is defeat.
It is. Who said that?
Oh, no.
Wendy Bird.
No, I'm not going to make up quotes. I actually think that is a legitimate quote from somebody, but
Sun Tzu?
The name escapes me. I don't think it's Sun Tzu. Could be, but I don't think
I'm going to look it up. It's one of the benefits to casting at home.
Beautiful. Look it up. Google it, Josh, because I am ready and waiting, looking at this fight that's kicking off right now. What a bio name from Myungbong! Oh my goodness! He connected it onto 4 targets, and everyone from Florida is low. Possibilities now for Boston to clean up, and they do just that. Duplicate from Colorhex was used. He used it there onto the Sigma, so he wasn't able to get the Gravitic Flux off, but that's all good because the damage was definitely done. Now, who said it, Josh?
Well, it appears to just be a meme from Sekiro.
Really? Well,
you know,
never mind.
It might have been derived from some different,
wow.
you know, heavy, meaty quote that you remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if it's inspirational, Brent, it's inspirational. It doesn't matter
to me,
where
man.
it came from.
Yeah, it's inspirational to me. My bad, chap. My bad. I'm baiting you with quotes, thinking they're coming from notable people. They're not. I'm just an idiot. But here we have it.
It's coming from Reddit.
Yeah, Nanamoose comes out. Duplicate from Yaki as well. Moving over to the Winston. Another huge Bionade from Youngbong. Connects onto 4, but the rally armor is persisting from Chris, and that's going to save them. Gravitic Flux is going to get the D-Mech here onto Bruce, and Yaki just desperately trying to disjoint fusions away from the rest of his team now, and they're able to pick apart the Boston Uprising slowly, peeling them like an orange in a sweet summer day in the sun, baking down on your head. But finding opportunities, Florida Mayhem with already 2 ticks, 2.5, and as they find these little stragglers on the point, they're going to most likely be able to convert this one to a full capture. It's going to take a miracle for the Boston Uprising to turn this one around. A couple of more players remaining, and will that do it? It might just, maybe, possibly. Jerry stalling it. Color Hex goes over, using his duplicate, eating damage. Okay, maybe a possibility.
Good stall
coming out indeed. The supercharger was unleashed there by Fate. Bruce's bomb takes him out. Okay, Boston. All right, you might want to try and turn this one around right now. The tactical visor, though, from Sire player on the flank is doing so much damage, and Color Hex gets bursted because of it. A couple more players now. This is decent by Boston. They managed to take about a minute off the clock there with that stall.
Yeah, a whole minute being chunked off the clock makes a large difference. Yeah, they knocked off a third of the applicable time, and they've sent it to a situation where Boston Uprising have 1 minute, and Florida Mayhem have 2 3/4. So pretty decent situation there. This is still a fairly I wanted to say fairly winnable, but I don't want to give the people false hope, Brett.
Yeah.
Because judging by their point A performance, where Boston Uprising just rolled over like a beetle and just flailed their arms around, asking for death, it really doesn't seem like it would be winnable. But if Boston Uprising changed their defense to be more effective, more aggressive, then I could see a world in which they have a chance here on Hanamura.
Hesitation is defeat. After all,
it certainly is. Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you gotta take some risks to take the win, and you often see the best.
I think that's the point of this.
The best teams, they take the initiative, they play aggressive, they force the enemy team to make mistakes. Boston are very much a reactionary team in its current state. I don't blame them though, because they get a lot of hate online as a team.
Yeah,
I feel like,
and I also think that if you're attacking, you're more likely to make mistakes yourself.
Yes.
So I think Boston are trying to play in a way to minimize their own mistakes, but that means that they just apply no pressure and don't force any mistakes out of their opponents. And it allows for these really clean games where they just get rolled.
Well, we'll see if Color Hex can collect this opening pick like he did on Hollywood once before. A lot is going to be on his shoulders, and Jerry, for that fact. So we'll see if they can clutch it up. Yaki, though, has a pretty good sight line. He knows exactly what's going on here, setting up the sticky bombs, pumping in a lot of damage. Now the tank line of Boston is trapped indoors. The accretion comes out, connecting onto 1 or 2. Halo falling is not a good sign for the Boston Uprising, with only 30 seconds remaining. If they don't get a clean disengage or engage into this fight, could just be over from this point on. I'm going to be real with you guys. And Jerry falling as well. It is disastrous. Only 20 seconds remaining now for Boston. Make your decision now. How do you want to try and take this fight?
Well, they do still have 10 seconds. They should use the clock to their absolute fullest. They need somebody to touch the point.
Used.
No Lucio available.
Somebody can jump on this. They use the hold, but the whip shot pushes them back. 3 seconds remaining. They do touch. Brucing gets on, and as does Fusions. Just trying to make it work. He's so low, remember. Heals not really being able to get applied here onto the tank line of the Boston Uprising. The Florida Mayhem just cleaning them up. Nice little flick there from Sire player. Get out of here, you filth beast. Holy moly. The shots are just a little bit freaky and too much for me, because Boston Uprising unable to get any sort of capture on that. Now the Florida Mayhem have 2 minutes 45 seconds to try and get a singular tick. And that'll be the series.
Drawable. I can see the draw,
sure,
Brent.
Right.
I can see it.
Okay.
I got my telescope out and I can witness it from a distance.
Yep.
2 minutes and 45 seconds into the future.
Where are you looking from? The moon?
Yeah, I'm peering from here to Japan.
Right.
If you had a big enough telescope,
Where are you going with this?
Could you curve the telescope around the curvature of the Earth so that you could see Japan?
Sorry.
Or would
Sorry.
you know?
What?
Okay.
Hold
so
on.
if you had a telescope, right?
Yeah.
So if you just set up a really big telescope
a really
right now,
long
we
telescope.
wouldn't be able to see Japan because it's on the other side of the world. But if you made a really long telescope, I'm talking thousands of miles long telescope.
So the light gets bent and refracted.
Well, yeah, I guess you'd have to make it out of like fiber optics or something. Instead,
yeah, isn't that?
I don't know whether it's possible.
Isn't that just a webcam with a live feed going to Japan?
No.
I mean, if you think about it, cables could be telescopes. It depends how hard you think
they're
about
not.
it. They're not.
Well, I'm
no.
not thinking about it very hard.
I mean, but information. Fiber optics is light converted to information. Anyway.
Yeah, but that conversion process takes time.
Sure.
I want it straight piped
You want it
into my
light
eyeballs.
speed.
Yep.
Okay. Well, a discussion for another time, perhaps, because the Florida Mayhem are pushing, and they only have to get a single tick right now. They're opting for the double shield composition. And Boston Uprising just trying to hold them off at the choke point. Fusion's forced to disengage super early. The accretion, though, sets him up. Sire player collects the kill, and he's looking for a couple more. 2 shots into Color Hex. Yaki cleans it up. Gargle with the 2K. Just like that, Josh, it is over. Almost certainly, as there's only a couple players left remaining. Boston Uprising have been defeated, and the Florida Mayhem going to be taking it 3-0. GG's in the chat.
Yep, GG's in the chat. It was not a speed run for the Florida Mayhem this time. They weren't able to set any records with their defeat over the Boston Uprising, but nevertheless, it was still a 3-0. Some signs of life for the Boston Uprising. They were okay on their attack on Hollywood, and they were okay on their attack on Hanamura, but they weren't good enough. They weren't even good enough to force a draw out on either of those maps. Point A defenses really letting them down both times. So, a tough situation for the Boston Uprising, but if we flip things over onto the other side, I am just really anticipating the moment at which Florida get to face off against a good team. Because previously, we've seen them beat the Paris Eternal.
Hey.
That was a huge upset, so I'm waiting to see them face off against another top team.
You never know. The May tournament's coming up as well. That is a
They could
great
go on a deep
opportunity. They can make a deep run into the May tournament if you're unaware. Slight changes to the format that's going on later this month as well. We're having 2 separate regions. Asia and North America are going to be competing, the teams internally, and they're playing for essentially placement points, winning points to help them qualify for playoffs a little bit later down the line. Really cool setup that we've got prize money as well that's involved. That's going to be a dope setup, a little bit of May madness, if you will.
It's basically like the hype of playoffs, but also during May.
Yes.
And then potentially in future months as well.
I think
going to be outrageously good.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to it, because right now it can feel like almost the stakes of what these teams are playing for is so far in the distance. One of the major complaints I think that people had, but this kind of just removes that. It adds this playoff into the middle.
Some money down on the line.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am. The narratives that are going to be coming out of it are going to be pretty good. But overall, I think what you were saying about Florida, it needs to be reiterated as well. This is a team that is just now looking for an opportunity to play against a better teams now to make a name for themselves as not just one of the bottom tier teams, because this is an org that hasn't had the best success in the past. They're looking for the next opportunity to play and take down one of the bigger dogs. But Josh, it's time for our player of the match presented by Xfinity.
It certainly is, and we couldn't give it to anybody else other than Yaki. I mean, this guy was great, and I know that there wasn't that much pressure on him because they didn't figure out very good counter picks to Boston Uprising, but Yaki took all of the space that was given to him, and he delivered. He had some great moments on that Echo.
Yeah, it was a beautiful performance, and this is the nice thing that you see when a new hero gets introduced into the game like this. You get to see who the first players are that are picking up and having a real good time of it and a good run of it. Yeah. Rascal is one of those players that comes to mind. Maybe Yaki is as well. Again, I think the opposition wasn't quite up to scratch to really test him and push him to his limits, but who knows? He could be a future star with that role in particular.
Could be.
We're just waiting to before we get into our interview with one of the members of the Florida Mayhem staff, I believe the general manager, I believe. So Albert, Albert is going to be the guy who's being interviewed by Zoe. But before that, Josh, we can continue our conversation about telescopes, fiber optics, that kind of thing. The speed of light
Yeah.
That's what you're hunting for, right? You're looking for minimal input delays between the telescope at one end to your eyes.
All I'm asking is, would it be theoretically possible? I was just trying to test your physics knowledge, Brendan, a small break. It's not something that I've desired with my heart for a very long time. If you're looking for a birthday present, please don't buy me a 3,000-mile long telescope.
I think I got an E in my A-level physics.
I didn't even know it went down that far, I'm going to be honest.
I would say yes. I think it would be theoretically possible.
Well, I'm not going to trust you because you got an E in your
Oh, you
physics.
actually don't know the answer?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't think it would be possible, but I don't know really how fiber optics work over long distances. I think that there'd just be a reduction in the information that was able to be passed.
Theoretically, if you created a train track around the Earth that was perfectly frictionless, and you had an object that was, for example, a train that just kept gaining speed over and over and over again, and you bypass the speed of light, those people would technically be time traveling.
Whoa, you can't bypass the speed of light, Brent.
Okay, well, getting very close to the speed of light, because when you get close to the speed of light, strange things happen. You can't bypass it, but getting very close to it, then time starts to get stretched out a little bit. It's very weird and wacky.
Time slows down.
I can't remember where I learned that, but it was crazy, and I believed it for some reason.
It's true.
It is true.
That's, that's relativity for you.
Yeah.
But we didn't come here to teach you guys relativity. We came here to cast some Overwatch. Coming up later, we have Defiant playing against the Gladiators as well. That's a little sneak preview of what we've got coming up after this interview that we're cooking up in the works right now. I think that could be a sneaky good game. You saw our analyst desk, 2 of them, that's reinforcing the fish, predicted the Toronto
Sorry,
Defiant.
what?
Yep, reinforce and the fish. Did you not watch Watchpoint this morning? Jack's Fish predicted.
What did they predict?
The Toronto Defiant.
The Toronto Defiant.
Gladiators. Yep.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not going to say that Reinforce has the same intelligence as a fish, but I'm going to heavily imply
It's a bit insulting to Jack's Fish, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 of them, and each of them have like one. What does a fish have? 1 brain cell. So yeah, I think that's about
I
even.
loved Jack's enthusiasm for Jack is Jaws, by the way. I can call him Jack because we're cool like that.
Yeah, we're
but
tight like that.
I love his enthusiasm for the aquarium, fish, aquatic life.
Yeah.
But before we dive into aquatic life, Zoe has another interview with Albert, I believe.
Do indeed. I came into this conversation at the right time, it seems. Thank you so much, Bren and Sideshow. And thanks a lot to Albert joining us from the Florida Mayhem.
Hey, happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. First of all, of course, congratulations to the W. I want to talk to you a little bit about the building of this team because, quite frankly, I think Florida Mayhem may have gone through the most different renditions out of any other team in the league, and you've been with the team for quite some time. What's been the biggest transitions for the team? Like, can you just kind of walk us through the 2020 preparations and what the team wanted to focus on?
Sure. Actually, I'll do a little bit better than that. I've been here since Season 1, the end of Season 1. So we started as EU, then we decided to go mixed. And then last year we made a decision midway through the season to transition to full Korean. So there's kind of been 3 distinctly different kind of periods of team building philosophy. So moving to 2020, we had cut, we didn't have our academy team anymore that had a lot of Western talent that went on to, most of them joined the Valiant. I think Paint is with Glads, and Curry as well. So they got in the league, success there. But for my purpose, I couldn't utilize those resources anymore that I had built. So I decided sticking with a full Korean roster made more sense competitively. And then to that end, we needed a flex DPS. So I looked at the market, and Sparkle Yaki kind of stood out as the up and coming rookies. And we went with Yaki because I thought Kuki was we also needed a head coach, and it kind of just Kuki slotted in perfectly there, and we brought in Gangnam Jin as well. So kind of everything worked out, and we worked around that core, kept the good parts of our team from last year. And it's kind of been working out in 2020.
So how tough was that for the team and for the players themselves as well? Because obviously there is always a lot of backlash, a lot of opinions coming from the community. What were the reactions like to the 2020 roster?
I think they were mixed. I think a lot of people thought we kept too many, or we didn't. We should just start from scratch, cut everyone, nuke the team. I heard a lot of those I read a lot of those comments. But it's my job as GM to keep the pieces that I feel could produce in 2020, and that's exactly what I did.
And what's the team environment like at the moment? I mean, I know it's crazy times we're all living in with the whole COVID situation, but how are the team, or rather the players, keeping the spirits up as they don't really get to have those fan interactions anymore? You guys had to cancel homestands, etc. How do you keep everyone happy and also performing well?
Well, I think our coaching staff's done a great job. The support staff I have, the infrastructure we have here, does a great job supporting them. Our team chef is still cooking Korean food for them almost every day. So that helps a lot. The in-house League of Legends scrims help a lot that we play for Coke, the drink. So yeah, it's been pretty good. I think just the infrastructure we have in place has really enabled us to be happy during the
That's
quarantine.
fantastic. That's really great to hear. Now, looking ahead to the end of the season, we are saying that the Mayhem are currently on the up. Where do you rank yourself? I mean, given the strength of schedule, you faced off against Boston several times now, and that makes it a little bit harder to really rank the performance of your own team when you're playing against someone who is quite far in the bottom. How do you think you would actually fare against, well, some of the top teams in the league?
Well, I don't think our fans in the league has to wait very long to see that. I expect we'll be seeded fairly highly by the end of the month into the regional tournaments that we have, then the May Madness, if you will. So I think we'll have some quality games there. This month isn't, but I think the true test will end of the month tournament.
Right on. Yeah, I think everyone is super excited to see what the Mayhem can bring to the table when they face off against some of the top dogs of the league right now. Thank you so much, for joining us for a quick word.
Thanks for having me.
Best of luck to you and your team. We're now heading into a quick break, and then we will be back with more action with our last game of the day.